Back some 30 years ago, when I wore younger man's clothes, I took some martial arts. I was taking Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's system in the East Mountains of Albuquerque. Hi, I'm Pastor Scott Thom of Cross Christian Fellowship in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it was during those days that it was formidable years, forming in me certain aspects of life and teaching me a lot of life lessons. And that first year in training was rather odd because we were learning forms and we were learning a few moves, but most of what we were doing is footwork and hitting the bag, tons of sit-ups, push-ups, learning how to cover up, how to feint, not like a possum going down and playing dead, but feinting means pulling away from, punches and leaning just out of the reach and then leaning in and closing the distance and learning all these things that you're like, when am I actually going to be, like Bruce Lee? When are we actually going to learn some of these fancy kicks and do that? And when am I going to be like Kwai Chang Caine, and all these things, and that's throwing some of you back in time, right? So most of what we learned was how to take a punch, right? How to be hit, because we would hit on one another, right? You learn how to take a shot to the abs or to the shoulders and how to cover up. But isn't that what life is like? Life will hit you, whether you like it or not. And sometimes it's going to hit you really hard, and sometimes it's going to knock you down, and you feel like you don't want to get back up. And that's where some training, that's where a coach comes in, right? Paul says in 1 Corinthians 9 that he runs the race, right? He fights the good fight. Not one who shadow punches or boxes at the air, but who really gets into it, right? Just like real athletes who have to discipline their body in order to win the prize. And that takes a coach. That takes some training. That takes direction. That takes knowing how to handle life's, punches. What life does to you and how to maneuver around that so you take the least amount of punches and have the most amount of success. And that's what a discipler does, right? A mentor, a coach, someone who will come along and will train you in life. Here's what you're going to need in life. Now, you're not going to use it every day, but you're going to need all these things in life, because going through life, you're going to be in situations and placed in situations that you didn't anticipate. And boy, I didn't anticipate what was going to happen. It was after the first year. I think I was only like a yellow belt type of thing. Barely knew anything, just a lot of training. And here comes a guy into the school who is straight out of boot camp in the Marines, just fit, bulked up, and a little full of himself, right? Got this, hand-to-hand combat training and some of these things. And I was like, and I love law enforcement and the military, big supporter. And so I was like, cool, he's here. But he was a little bit full of himself. And so my Sifu Johnson, he goes, okay, you and him, you're going to spar about 3 rounds. And I'm like, inside, I'm like, no, we're not. Because what? I don't know any moves yet, right? I don't know this. This guy's going to kill me. He outweighs me by about 25, 30 pounds. It's all muscle. And so he's like, yeah. So we geared up. We got in there. And he starts unleashing on me, man. Punches are flying. I'm covering up. I'm taking shots. I'm taking hits. And, when he had said this, hey, you're going to fight him, my head snapped around like Scooby going after a Scooby snack, right? It was like, what? No. And right now I'm like making those Scooby eyes at him, like real sad eyes. If you could see through the headgear and the teeth protection, my bottom lips quivering, like Scooby does to get attention, and sympathy, like, hey, get me out of here. You know what he said? He looked at me, he said, Scott, trust your training. And inside, I heard what he said. But inside, if I could say it, I couldn't turn my head away because I would get clocked. Inside, I'm going, can you be a bit more specific? Right? Because trust my training. But you know what? It started to happen. I realized all these shots were coming at me. And it really wasn't, they hurt, but they weren't hurting me. You know what I'm saying? They weren't knocking me down. They weren't knocking me back. I was handling the hits, just like life comes at you. But when you have a biblical perspective, you're going to get hit, but you know how to handle it. And sure enough, I'm like, he's not really making that much of an impact. And so I started throwing some jabs. We were taught, here's how you throw those jabs. His hands started going up higher and higher to protect his face. And the training kicked in. When the hands go up, you do double body shot and then double uppercuts, because hands go up, then hands go down, the face is exposed. All 4 hits landed, and the last right cross came across, and boom, he went down. And that was it. Fight was over. Sparring was over. And I was kind of amazed that what happened there. But it's the same thing when you're trained and discipled in the Lord, when you have the ability to pull on resources, even though you may not use them every day, but you have some training in that area. And not just knowledge. You have to be able to take it in, think about it, process it, start applying it in your life. But when you really need it, it can come out in full force, right? And that's what discipleship is. You need to go beyond just the hearing to doing, but not only that, you have to understand it and apply it, because a coach will come along and he'll teach you things that you didn't know, right? And he has a perspective that you're not seeing, because you don't know what you don't know. And so somebody who disciples us is teaching us and guiding us in those things that we just don't know. But he's preparing us for now and in the future. And the other thing about it is I could teach my family members, my girls. That's one of my proudest moments, when I could tell my girls, here, when Dad's not around and you need to defend yourself, here's what you do. And I guarantee you that boy will let go of you, right? And that seems weird, but you dads know what I'm talking about, right? So, hey, we're going to launch this series, a program, a discipleship program. It's called Navigating Life from the Cross. It's not going away from the cross, but from the perspective of the cross. A biblical worldview, not a worldly view. And once you are discipled in that with biblical concepts, biblical foundation, you're going to handle what life has to throw at you so much better. And we're going to teach you how to pass that along. So we're about to launch, and be patient. But I want to thank you for joining me in this journey. I've been pastoring for 30 plus years, and during that time I've been mentoring people for ministry, for life, and through Bible college, through mentoring programs, through our college program, ccfcollege.com, mentoring pastors and leaders. So I've got a background in this, and we're going to take the best of the best and pour into you. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. And we kind of have this saying here that just smile and make life happen. So we'll see you. Join us in this journey. You and I together. All right. God bless.